Friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are, still in Miami. I've got a lovely guest now, somebody who I always love talking to. Great fun when you meet this person. And the person I'm talking about is Emma Murray, who's the founder of Meantime, London-based. Emma, generally, it's always nice to see you.
Good to see you too, Chris.
You're always good fun, lots of energy, and a good sense of humour.
Lovely to be here.
Makes such a difference. Now, what I want to start with is we see each other at lots of conferences, trade shows. And one of the things you said a while back was how sad it was and what a shame when we were in COVID and during the pandemic that people thought that might never happen again.
I agree. I think there was a time when people thought Teams was the thing.
Yeah.
It was the way forward. We were going to do everything virtually. Personally, I didn't really believe that, and I was delighted when I was proven right. Because everyone came back together. Because that's how we do business in this business.
It is.
Face to face.
Everybody was, I think everybody, like everything, they verged on the extremes and they were saying, this will never happen again, it's always going to change, and it's new, and it's, and it was good to start with. But now, with everything, you always get the upside and the downside and the ailments. And I much prefer seeing people.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure about these hybrid things either. You know, I get if you've got a keynote speaker who's somebody maybe like must see, that you might want to tune in and catch that speech. But apart from that, really a panel discussion, I'm not sure you want to tune in and watch that.
No, I'm with you there. Now, big question now, and again with your wealth of experience, have we now gone the other way, and are we having too many? And they're not as structured, there's not really a sequence throughout the year. The subject matter all seems to now blend into something that's a little swamp of what we'd love to see, what we think is right. And there's too many opinions on what people should be doing, instead of letting people have genuine opinions and being a little bit more of a positive disruptor.
Yeah, I think it's possibly going towards too many, and certainly bunched up at the end of the year. You can probably hear my croaky voice because I've been to about 3 of these in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that each one of them isn't valuable or anything like that, because I do think they're valuable. I love going to them. I do loads of business.
Yeah.
My customers do loads of business at them. So it's not that. I think it's more about thinking about the structure and the purpose of it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So one bit of it could be the conference, and that needs more thought. You know, we can't keep sitting in rooms listening to the same people talking about digital, sustainable, lack of people in the industry. These are all meaty subjects. I'd almost rather have breakout rooms with, I don't know, round tables where people take one of those topics and discuss it and maybe come together at the end to see if we can find a solution.
Yeah.
Or maybe a bit more ballsy action from the organisers. Like we want to come out of it at the end with a call to action. Let's all agree. Who wants to sign our manifesto for change at the end of this?
Yep.
You know, we've talked all about sustainability for 2 days. We've had everybody from every perspective talking about it. What could we tangibly do as a group, or say we want to do as a group, that we can then, I don't know, come in a year and measure against? Something like that, rather than just speaking for the sake of it.
And don't you think then the follow-up conference or whatever, it should focus on whether things were successful or not. Not just let them drop because they haven't been.
I agree.
Because then there's a little bit of pressure and a little bit of reality.
Absolutely.
That, you know, you've got to be competent in what it is you want. You've got to be compliant in the outcome, and then hopefully maybe people have better control of it.
I mean, I was chairing the panel on airports yesterday, and I have to say, all by themselves, they kind of came up with the idea of maybe we should actually say something now on this stage, like a statement of intent. It can't be formal because we've just decided.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be made more formal by the organiser, like picking up on something like that, actually saying we're going to do it. Why not?
And another question I've got, because I've spent a lot of time and I've never been a great one at preparing. I always think just, you know, go with what it is, but to try and get the most out of people. Sometimes now the level of moderation seems to be so prescriptive and so bland.
Yeah.
And especially the last few I've been on, you know, you sort of think, why don't you go out on a limb? Why don't you just go out and...
But I think that's because to moderate is a certain skill, and it's not everyone's skill, and also not everyone's comfort place. And if you get asked to moderate and you feel like you have to say yes, maybe that needs a bit more thought, or maybe the organisers need to be a bit more prescriptive about what their expectations are.
Yeah.
I don't think it's enough to just say, here's your bunch of people, go and speak to them. So, for example, my approach this time was to interview each of the panelists in advance,
Yeah.
to pull together some notes that we could then discuss. That's just my approach because I'm a journalist at heart. But you know, I know that you get these big calls. I've been on them as well. The big call with everyone who's on the panel.
I know.
It's a little bit awkward. And then if anything interesting is said, like you've said it before you get to the panel.
And
it's
yeah,
very
and
difficult.
it doesn't have that natural
No, it doesn't
delivery.
resonate.
It does,
Yeah.
it loses it.
And the second time around, you're nervous because you're trying to recreate what happened the first time. My personal pet hate is the list of questions.
Oh.
And, you know, you ask a question and then you ask the first person and the
Oh,
poor
yeah.
second person. By the time it gets to the poor fifth person, everyone in the room's completely glazed over.
Yeah.
I think that should be banned.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'll take note of that one. The other thing is, loads of people say it's the same old, and a lot of the subject matter is, and a lot of the terms, and a lot of the criteria. But I also think you can have people who are experienced and also fresh.
Yeah.
But if you do a different approach to the moderation and the understanding of what the expectation is and why it's important to come from those people, then I think it's better. So the solution isn't just, well, change everybody and don't speak to any of the experts anymore.
No.
And I think that balance, that formula is something that people should start to think about as we come into next year.
Yeah, I mean, I've also organised events, so I absolutely understand how difficult it is to get people to give up their time and sit on a stage and give their expertise for free. It's tricky.
Yeah.
But I do think there needs to be maybe more thought about what we want to happen at the end, not just getting the people on the panel, but what do we want to happen after they've been on the panel.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to ask you, I remember years ago there was lots of things that were on a subject matter, and it was when everybody had the little clickers, you know, and then a question would come up, and then you'd ask the question after the panel did what they thought was right, to see whether the audience actually agreed with it, or they felt something else should be said.
Yeah.
And I think that interactive and that
stuff
dynamic,
is very
even
good.
though people aren't going to be great to, asking questions, a lot of people don't want to do it in public.
Yeah, I mean, there are tools to do that so that people can ask the questions as well. I quite like them. But again, that means the organiser has to put them in place and teach the moderator to use it, etc. Because that can be quite, if you're not used to it, by the way, it can be quite nerve-wracking to see these questions coming up and not sure. Again, you don't want to have a list of questions.
All you do is you just scroll down and you come one that resonates. And
you're a confident guy, Chris, so that's people are not so confident. I get it. It's a bit more thought into the person who's actually leading that session, giving them, I guess, support and training. Does that sound over the top?
No. Yeah, a little bit of coaching, and then it makes those individuals feel better, and then they'll get more confident in how they approach it, and I think they'll be more dynamic.
But this is another thing. It's the titles of the sessions. Okay, that is also something that needs thinking about. So, of course, the person putting it together is not going to be a subject matter expert on all the things they're asking people to speak about. So, like, why not let the moderator, after speaking to the panelists, come up with the title of the session so everyone's expectations are managed. Now we know what we're talking about.
Instead of having the other way around with a title and then having to fit it in.
It's a little thing, but I think it can make quite a big difference. I also am not averse to having more actual speeches. And I don't mean people standing up and talking all about their company. I mean, if we've got people out there who are like actual experts about AI as opposed to people who like to talk about AI or whatever, that would be really interesting. 20 minutes? Like Mr. AI comes and literally tells you what it means or whatever it is. That's really valuable. Maybe they do that and then there's a panel discussion where that was really interesting. Here's what it means to us. That kind of changes it up and you come away feeling you've learned something, you know? Yeah,
that's something I was going to say. There's nothing better than going to a conference and getting nice ideas, good ideas that you can go back and you can implement yourself.
Exactly.
Maybe in a slightly different way, but then that makes you feel better or endorses what you want to do yourself as well.
Or even because you've given up that hour, you come away having more knowledge about something you knew you should have found out about. But actually to find that information, it could be anything, by the way. It could be like a detailed thing about some legislation that you know you need to know about, but actually you'd have to either go on a course or whatever, but here's a guy who's told you in 20 minutes
Yeah.
the pertinent things you need to know. So now you can go away and research it. I think that's invaluable.
Yeah, no, I agree. Some great ideas there. Got to ask you now something. The origins of the of your founding organisation, Meantime.
Yeah.
After a few beers,
Yeah,
you could
we're not mean to anybody. I'd like to just clarify that. We're not mean to our customers, we're not mean to our friends, we're not mean to the journalists, but we were founded in Greenwich.
There you go. That's the answer to it. But no, seriously, I've always enjoyed your company. You've always got a valid comment
Thank you.
and always a little bit of humour, which makes everything so much better.
Absolutely.
And I wish you great success. And it's always like, honestly, you're one of the few people. I shouldn't say few people. You're one of the many people
There you
that
go.
I look forward to seeing whenever
You
I go on a conference.
You too. All right, Chris, thanks
brilliant.
a lot.
And I love the hair colour change.
Oh,
as
the
well,
hair
by
colour
way.
change, thanks a lot.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, all right.